This one is about how to, I suppose, fix the world, how to keep ourselves from getting into a World War III or blowing ourselves up with atom bombs or whatever. And I was listening to a really smart guy talk about this. He said, now that we have the capacity to do this, we have to figure out how to become wise, basically. And I don't know that he ever provides like a direct path on how to make people wise. But I think the solution is actually probably like the last video I posted. There's a Christian strategy here, which I think is it's true. So I mean, you could call it a Christian strategy, you could just call it a smart strategy. I think it's interesting to look at the old stories and be like, oh, they really had something figured out, because it gives some weight, some historical weight, saying, well, we've known this for thousands of years, and it seems to have borne out, relatively good fruit. And it's the idea that you should pick the log from your own eye before the speck from your brother's. But that alone, it's hard to parse how that, when the rubber hits the road, what's that mean, or what does it mean really? And I think what it means is that every individual, so I guess the question is how do you go about picking the log from your eye? That's the question. And I think that the idea is it's baked into the books. It's that you have to embody the logos, and there's two steps, I think, to that. One is to try and speak the truth in every moment, because then you get really good at speaking the truth and being even and harmonious, and but to speak the truth in a loving way, because that's part of the logos as well. You want to be truthful, but also caring, because it's very easy to be mean when you're truthful about stuff, like telling people the truth they don't want to hear, But you want to try and be truthful, meaning treating yourself as though you're valuable and treating others as though they're valuable, and that people have an intrinsic value because they have the capability to change the world. And so anybody that has the capability to change the world for the better in ways that you can't predict is obviously divine in that sense, because they can create a better world. And so you have to act that way. You have to live that way. So that means even for murderers and pedophiles and whoever's on the other side of the political divide and all the people that you hate, you have to remember they're capable of changing the world for the better, and so you have to act that way and treat them that way, etc. So that's kind of like living in the logos, embodying the logos, acting in a truthful manner. You want to speak in a truthful manner, and if you do that, if you can orient yourself and embody that logos idea, then what happens is when you try to make the world a better place, you tend to be successful. It works out. One of the problems we have currently is that, and this is a Solzhenitsyn idea, is that most people that do evil think that it was the right thing to do. And the reason is in hindsight, you look and you're like, man, what were they thinking? But they thought it was the right thing to do in the moment. A lot of times, not all of them. Some of them, some really evil people, they're really actively trying to make things worse. But what happens is people get twisted by ideology, or whatever their beliefs or delusions might be, which is kind of the same thing if you think about it. So the question is, well, how do you make people more wise? I think the answer is you really teach people what it means to live in a truthful, loving manner. And it sounds like all woo-woo or whatever, but embody the logos. It's the Judeo-Christian notion. And well, we did put people on the moon and stuff. I mean, this is a pretty good time to live, all things considered. It's worked out pretty well, even though some of us have been partially, not even doing a good job of it, not even knowing what we're doing really. But fundamentally, it's try to speak the truth, try to act out the truth, be like a hero in your own life, try to make the world a better place. And if everybody kind of realizes, oh, that is the path, you should try to speak the truth. You should act in a loving, truthful manner towards your fellow man who is divine, just like you are. And you should treat yourself well and the other person well. And if you do all that, then when you try and make improvements, it actually works out and reality gets better. And so that is the meaning of life, basically, is to, try to make the world a better place. But then obviously the question is, well, what's the best strategy? Well, I think this is the best strategy, because when you have people who have ideologies or even mental health issues that have delusions, or they just they're lying to themselves basically about the nature of reality. And what happens is if you lie to yourself, boy, when that comes out in your behavior and you kind of trick yourself into doing things that don't turn out to be that productive for yourself or for others, then it's all fruit of the lie, And there's actually a book on this called People of the Lie by M. Scott Peck. He also wrote The Road Less Traveled. These are great books. But yeah, so anyway, I was listening to this smart guy. He's talking about how to make people wiser so that we can actually not blow ourselves up with atom bombs over the next 100 or 200 years. And as with I believe the last video, the answer is, pick the log from your own eye before the speck from your brother's. You want to make everybody wise, make yourself really wise, and know what you're doing, so that if someone asks you, hey, why is everything working out well for you? Because if what you're doing is right, things are going to tend to work out pretty well for you. People are going to ask you, and then you can tell them, oh, I heard about this idea, which is to speak the truth and tell the truth and act in a truthful, loving manner and try and make the world a better place and to orient my life around that. And if you do that, if you can make other people do that as well, just by dint of seeing you do it, they might want to do it. This is the whole concept of making a fisher of men or whatever. These are secular ideas if you think about it. The only faith, well, I mean, even at the core, the notion that the individual is divine and the other is divine, even that doesn't even require faith. These are ideas that a secular person can understand. You don't have to be religious to believe these things. Because in order to believe that I'm divine and that the other person is divine, all you really have to believe is that you're able to create a slightly different reality. And you're also able to create a slightly better reality, because you can alter things in reality. And as you alter it, you've altered the patterns of reality. And so every slightly different iteration of reality is a new reality, technically, because every moment that's the only thing that exists, each moment. So each moment there's a new reality that's created. And if you do things right, things turn out to be better. And so anyone you come into contact with could, on a grand scheme, change the world. They could change the world for the better, or they could just change the world slightly. And then over the course of a couple thousand years, everybody's changing the world slightly better, and you end up with an amazingly better place, right? So you don't have to have any faith to believe that to happen. You don't have to have faith to believe that would happen. You don't have to have faith that you're divine or that the other one's divine. You just have to understand what the word divine means and just accept that, well, divine means this person can create a better reality. And it makes sense. Like, they can. It makes perfect sense. Trying to strain myself to see where, and this is one, and I don't think I've made a video about this. This is the one where you have to have a little bit of faith. The faith is that, okay, so let's accept that the individual has the capacity to make the world a better place, and that could be you or another person. The faith part comes in when you say, well, what if you acted as though that was the case? What if you acted in concordance with that truth? What would something good happen as a result? And I don't know if I've got my head completely around that. I don't know, and I may, just doing this may make my brain kind of think about this and be able to describe why acting and speaking in a truthful manner makes sense from a rational and secular point of view, where you don't have to have faith that would be a good thing to do. Because it sounds good on its face. Like, everybody knows, hey, if you act, tell the truth is good, lies are bad. But I don't know that I've really given thought to fully try to express why it's a good idea to try and act out the truth, not just give lip service to the fact that the truth is a good thing, but actually act it out in the sense that speech is an action, to actually speak the truth and act in the truth. And I think that might be a separate video, because that's a big idea. But I think the rest of this Judeo-Christian philosophy that Christ put forth, it's a secular person with no religion can believe that. You don't have to. There's no leap of faith that you have to take. It actually makes sense if you understand it and it's presented appropriately. I think it makes sense. I've talked to a lot of people about this type of thing. People that, when you talk to someone who's not religious, you tailor the message slightly differently, and they're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, no doubt. It makes sense. But yeah, I'll think about the notion that acting. Well, let's see, I'm 9 minutes in. Let's see if I can do it in 3 minutes. I have an idea of it. I don't know if I can put it into words, but here's the idea. The idea is that you are multiple supercomputers working at once. Generally speaking, your consciousness and subconsciousness. And your subconscious really is it's a supercomputer working underneath, behind the scenes, that you're not fully in contact with. And in every behavior, both of those computers are trying to alter themselves slightly to be in harmony with reality. And to be in harmony with reality means to be productive with reality. Like, reality's working for you. You're producing the outcomes that you want. So when you start talking about what truth is metaphysically at the very base, like axiomatically, like what's the true meaning of the word truth? What it really means is that which is practical and productive. And so you might say, productive for who? I think the answer is the truth, which is conscious matter. That's what we are. We're conscious matter. And so, productive for conscious matter. Not just you, personally, your personal individual ego identity, but the concept of the transcendent conscious matter that's going to live on beyond you. You are the same as that. The notion that you are separate from it is an illusion that is useful because it helps you pass on your genes and take care of yourself and your family. But when you take psychedelics, or when it's time to meet death like an old friend, I believe that you come into what they refer to in the literature as cosmic consciousness. You become one with reality itself. You feel like this oceanic connection. And what that is you're seeing reality for what it actually is. And what it actually is you are the universe experiencing itself, as Alan Watts would put it. So the idea is that if you act in harmony with reality in a productive way for you as conscious matter, you as matter itself, then the outcome is productive. So it's sort of a circular logic if you think about it. So when I say act in a truthful manner and things will work out well, I'm really just saying act in a manner where things will work out well and things will work out well. And sometimes you're going to make attempts to act in a manner that things will work out well, but it won't work out well. But the thing is, you are adjustable. You can alter the way that you respond to reality given those consequences, and you can change yourself so that you can act in a better way, or in a way that is more harmonious or more productive with reality. And thus we get better and better at making reality better and better. And this is where things get a little bit spiritual, and I'll be done at this point. Well, it was pretty good. It was about 2 minutes, 3 minutes I did that. Things get a little bit spiritual and interesting at this point, because when you start to realize that you really are nothing but matter, you're the same stuff as everything else, you just happen to be conscious and trying to make things better for some reason. You start to ask yourself, well, what is this project that this matter that I am is working on? And the answer is you don't know. All you know is that you see reality a certain way and you try and make it slightly different. You're trying to make a better reality. You're a more productive for you, or for conscious matter, or for whatever, and we don't know where that ends up. I think the religious folks, what they say is that it's heaven, it's the kingdom of heaven that we're creating, and that might just metaphorically mean utopia. It could be some grand project that we're not aware of what we're working on. So anyway, yeah, that's the idea. You want to make the world more wise so that it can, adequately and productively handle having the ability to create the sun on the planet Earth via fusion bomb. That's how you do it. You try to become as wise and as truth-telling and truth-speaking, shrouded in love as you possibly can, and then act as a fisher of men and draw other folks in and tell them what your strategy was, and constantly be rehashing that strategy and trying to make it better so that you can maybe influence some of the conscious matter that's going to be around when you're not. And that's it. That's that.